so the Legion of Skanks, Luis J. Gomez, Big Jay Oakerson, Dave Smith go on Bert Kreischer's Something's Burning. It's a cooking show that Bert likes to do. Luis J. Gomez kind of rips on Brendan a bit, and Bert asks why do they like to pick on him. Let's watch that clip first.
What about
For me,
Brian Regan?
if I could tour with one comedian, it would be Brendan Schaub. Just to learn the craft.
What? Well, okay, hold on. You know I like Brendan, right?
I know you do.
What? You know, can I tell you?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a secret time. So, like, I stopped reading comments.
We're gonna skip that part because Bert likes to talk about himself, even though we're talking about Brendan here. So we're gonna skip that part, and we're gonna get to Luis J. Gomez's response because that's the most important, and because Dave Smith kind of gives a butt kissing response because he says, "Oh yeah, I actually like Brendan because I'm a MMA fan, and that's why I like to watch Brendan's podcast, The Fighter and the Kid." And Luis J. Gomez and Big J, kind of rip him up for saying that. They're like, I can't believe you would say that. Oh my God. So we get to that part.
Anyone who fucks with anyone, even if they're fucking making a hate thing on them or a good thing on them, they're watching all their shit.
Sure.
Yeah.
No,
Personally, I really like Brent. I'm a huge UFC fan. I was a fan of his when he was fighting. I loved watching him fight.
Yeah.
I love Fighter and the Kid. I think it's a great show. Like
He's
I've got
great on
Fighter and the
fucking
Kid?
podcasts.
Huh?
You love The Fighter and the Kid?
Well, I mean, I don't like
just said
watch
that
it
on
religiously.
camera?
No, it's a good. I love MMA, so I
That
like
was
an MMA
crazy. You
comedy
just said
show.
I love it.
Asshole. I can't believe
I
it.
love Fighter and the
Yeah,
Kid.
you're friends with Rogan. All right, so look, here's the thing.
He is without a doubt the sweetest fucking guy I know.
I'm sure he is.
And by the way, legit great on podcasts. A young comic. If I'll say anything, he's a young comic. If you want to say anything about his comedy, he's young. That's all there is to it.
That's such a funny thing to say. The man's 40 years old. He's a young comic. He's been doing comedy for 15 years now or whatever. And this is something they like to say. He's young and he's a nice guy. I can't believe he's getting all this pushback. And it's also funny that Luis said, "Oh, I know why you're saying that because you go on Joe's podcast."
Can't believe
I
it.
love Fighter and the Kid.
Yeah, you're friends with Rogan.
So that kind of also ties into this whole clip because of what Luis said there is because Dave Smith does not want to make fun of Brendan because he wants to go back on Joe's podcast because Joe is a friend of Brendan. That's going to come up later in the next clip I'm going to show you in the next video. But we're going to keep going on this one because Luis gives a response why he likes to make fun of him. Here's what he says.
Button you're not supposed to push for
Yeah.
some reason. I don't know why. For some reason, it's like a thing you're not supposed to say. So it makes me want to say it more. As a comic, I don't know. That's always been what it is. I've made a few, like I don't have any legitimate ill will. I don't. Whatever. I don't actually have any ill will toward the guy. I've literally met him one time. He seems like he has a lot of mutual friends. Like I said, it's an open invite for Skankfest. I would love him to come to do Skankfest.
I would love, and that's
He would murder at Skankfest.
He would have.
He'd have a blast.
He'd have a great time.
Dude, Whitney
He'd
came
have
to
a fucking
Skankfest
blast.
last year. People thought
It bums me out. I understand it. I get it because it happened to me. It's happened to everyone. Everyone's gotten it, but it always bums me out. I just fucking love the guy.
it bums you out the hate that he gets from the fan base.
Yeah, and I understand some of it. I understand it.
Look, I don't understand how crazy they got on it. Like that
Yeah,
fan base.
I mean, they're
Like,
so-
usually, can I tell you why I've taken shots and I've made jokes?
Yeah.
It's because it's like the button you're not supposed to push for
Yeah.
some reason. I don't know why. For some reason, it's like a thing you're not supposed to say. So it makes me want to say it more. As a comic, I don't know. That's always been what it is. I've made a few. Like I don't have any legitimate ill will. I don't. Whatever. I don't actually have any ill will toward the guy. I've literally met him one time. He seems like he has a lot of mutual friends. Like I said, it's an open invite for Skankfest. I would love him to come to do Skankfest.
I would love, and that's
He would murder at Skankfest.
He would have.
He'd have a blast.
He'd have a great time.
Dude, Whitney
He'd
came
have
to
a fucking
Skankfest
blast.
last year. People thought
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Brandon would love to go on Skankfest. Not because I'm sure he does not like them making fun of him. I'm pretty sure Brandon, when Brian went on Skankfest, he didn't like that. He does. I'm pretty sure he doesn't like people making fun of him, and would probably not like to go on their shows anytime soon. He probably won't go on Howie Mandel's podcast anytime soon too because of all the ripping that Howie did on him, and he showed him some of the pictures on the subreddit. Um, but I do think that Luis is being honest here with his response. It is a button that you're not supposed to push. It is something that is somewhat prohibited because of Joe's connection with him as a friend, and people have a certain fear if they talk shit about Brendan, then they're not gonna go on the Joe Rogan Experience. Just like how Dave Smith did not want to give a negative response and said that he likes the show and he watches it and this and that. So now we get to the part where he says the same thing, that it's a button that you're not supposed to push. And this is the show that he did with Tim Dillon and Nick Mullen. Nick Mullen asked the guys why do they like to do that? Why do they also like to make fun of him? Here's Nick asking the guys why they like making fun of Brendan.
Bob Saget, their last festivals were Skankfest. No, I felt like an in memoriam thing. I'm saying we actually probably killed them.
It's a storied career that ends with Skankfest. That's a real.
He's done a lot.
It's beautiful.
All right, so all this tragic stuff happens, and then the most tragic thing that happened in April was Brendan Schaub releases Gringo Poppy on April 28th, 2022.
I don't understand the Brendan Schaub hate, right? Because I mean, obviously, I understand it, but like,
Right.
but everybody's doing it now. You know what I mean?
It's people are very angry.
Well, it's like because comedians are all like emotionally stunted people.
Yes.
And it's like somebody broke the day. I don't know who it was, but one guy was like, "What if we made fun of the retarded kid?"
Yeah.
And now everybody's like, "Get him!"
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck.
Thank you. The great Mike Harrington.
Right, here's a reality. Brendan has a legal right to do comedy.
Yes.
And that's the country I love.
No, but it's like
fuck that,
shitting on Brendan Schaub is like, you know that scene in The Simpsons where Marge is like, Homer, there's that bird you like to argue with. And then he goes and he argues with the parrot. It's like, who's watching that and is like really thinking like, oh, I got to tell this guy he's bad.
What if in 10 years he becomes the greatest comedian to ever? Like, what if he starts with Carlin level, Pryor, brilliant shit?
I don't know if he can ever get to Carlton level.
So I'm sure, as you might have heard there, like that is a Schaubism. Carlton, Carlin, one of his many heroes in the comedy space that Brendan likes to mention, George Carlton, and who else? Adam Sandler. Okay, so then we get back to the same response that Luis gave, the whole it's a button that you're not supposed to push kind of thing. Here's Luis saying that.
Yeah, look, everyone, it's the button in the room that you're not supposed to push because we all want to get on Joe Rogan, and I just couldn't stop pushing that button. What do you want me to say, dude? If somebody says don't push that button, you're gonna push that button, And I watched it happen with him. I went on Tim Dillon's show, and he just could not push that button.
I did. We talked about it.
I know when Gringo Poppy came out, you were like, it stinks.
No. Here's the deal, Brendan. He's a nice guy. He's genuinely a nice guy. Like, he's a nice guy.
Here we go again with the nice guy thing. Everybody says he's a nice guy, but behind the scenes, what happened with Mark Harley, he's been exposing a lot of the private life that Brendan has and how he is seemingly very disloyal to his wife. Allegedly. I don't want to say that that's factual. Because we don't really we won't really know until maybe Brendan starts to push and says, hey, this is not right. But if he keeps it quiet, maybe there is something going on with that.
Say nice guy one more time.
I've said this before.
He said nice guy 7 times in a row.
This whole year in the review thing was a trap.
He's not Richard Pryor. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And I don't think Rogan thinks he's the greatest comedian in the world either.
Yeah.
I don't think Rogan's like, Brendan, man, he's the best. It's a fucking best, man. Did you see the thing he did, man, about the lion? It's fucking a lion, man. It's fucking nuts, man. Lions are real. And they're out of his house, man. It's brilliant. No.
All right, so moving on.
So that's the reason. It's because of the Rogan thing. I really thought it was comedians were worried that he was gonna like do karate at them.
It would be funny if he started beating up everyone. Like if he just came in here right now and just started beating the shit out of all of us.
All right, there you guys have it. It all stems from Joe Rogan being Brendan's friend. Certain people not wanting to make fun of him because they might not get on Joe's podcast, might affect them in some sort of way. Joe might not get him on their show, on his show, or on his new comedy club. Luis thinks he's probably not gonna get back on the podcast ever again, and he's gonna keep taking shots at him because there's nothing for him to lose. I don't think he cares much about going on Joe's podcast. Definitely would help him out a little bit more, but if Joe would like Luis, then he would bring him on again when he actually gets the other guys from the Legion of Skanks, like Ari or Tim or Dave. I remember Luis saying that he actually had to sit one out when all the other guys were on and Joe didn't want him to be on the show. Maybe that's why he doesn't want him on the show, because of the whole Brandon thing and him publicly making fun of him.
Yeah, I think that from a fan's perspective, I don't really get mad at them when they start talking shit or start to it's kind of like, it's part of the experience, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, but you shouldn't be disrespectful to people for no reason like that.
But at the same time, I kind of understand it. It's almost like,
well, they should be able to boo at your comedy shows too then.
yeah, but I'll tell you, you know what? I'll tell you why not. Because
Why?
I feel like at a live sporting event, it's just not the same thing. They're not getting in the fighter's head. I mean, maybe they are a little bit.
They are.
But I talked to Mike about this.
In my opinion, I think it's kind of silly for them to defend Brandon. These comedians like Joe and Bert, Brandon like to make fun of other dudes, like to make fun of everybody else, but when it's them, they don't want to hear none of that. They don't want to look at the comments. They don't want to see the comics. They don't want to hear nothing negative. And, it's very hypocritical for them to close their eyes and close their ears because they don't want to hear any sort of criticism. Sometimes they have it coming. Sometimes it's very fair. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's, for Brennan, everybody attacks him for everything, which I think that's a little silly. Once you start attacking his wife or his kids, you guys kind of go a little too far there. I try not to talk about that sort of stuff with his kids and his wife, but if it's something very critical like him cheating on his wife, I'll also say that it's alleged. We don't really ever know if these things are fake, because until Brandon starts to maybe push back on those kind of things, then we'll find out if they're fake or not. And if he doesn't, then it is what it is, right? We don't know. Personally, we just get the stuff from the internet and then I report it and I make a video about it and I give you my response. And that's all it for me, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Luis. Is he being honest here, or is this just something he's just saying because he actually hates Brandon for some sort of reason? Maybe because Joe doesn't have him on again or something, right? Give this a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.
I don't think Rogan thinks he's the greatest comedian in the world either.
Yeah.
I don't think Rogan's like, Brendan, man, he's the best. It's a fucking best, man. Did you see the thing he did, man, about the lion? It's fucking a lion, man.